welcome back to the Fixing Football podcast with me, Martin Naylor. Liam O'Meara is here, Scott Naylor is here, and the returning Luke Foley is here. Luke, how are you? Let's start with you.
Alright. I'm alright, Martin. How are you?
I'm alright. Thanks. Liam, if you remember a few weeks ago, we had a little bit of a quiz, but Luke missed out.
Oh, yeah. So, this the Luke Pingu quiz for Luke, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did a little appearances one. So just to ease you back in, since though we've all been, doing a lot of the heavy lifting around here, while you've been gallivanting up hills and in streams, frolicking and shit like that, whatever it is you do. On your day off, avoiding the world is probably best describe it. So yeah, mine and your favourite YouTuber, Luke Pingu, inspired a quiz for you.
Okay.
Liam's currently in the lead. You've got 4 to beat. So I know you're an avid listener, but I'll go through the rules again with you. So this is the appearances quiz, and I tuned the scores a little bit. So you get 10 points for an exact score, 5 for within 10, 2 for within 20, 1 for within 30.
Okay.
And there's also some bonus points for goals if we get to it.
So Luke, I'm the current Emperor Penguin of this, so you have to try and surmount me, and I will do this to you next week, Martin, or when our next recording, I will do an Arsenal one, and I do have some Arsenal players that I do like to refer to. So feel free to research.
Nah, we'll keep the quality high on this podcast. Just leave it to me. Let's go with Luke. Your first one is David De Gea. So obviously,
how many appearances he's made?
Yeah, obviously 0 goals. So we're going to do clean sheets as your bonus one instead of goals. But David De Gea.
And this is just in the Premier League?
No. Total Man United appearances. Feel free to fill the silence as well.
450.
That is not close. It is 545 appearances. Right. Do you want to have a go at the clean sheets?
Clean sheets?
Clean sheets. No. 545 appearances.
$110.
It's 190. Right. Number 2. I don't know if they get harder or easier, but you're the avid United expert around here, so I think this should be.
Well, I've got a baseline now.
Carlos Tevez.
Oh, I'd say 87.
Liam, do you want to go?
Do I want to go Carlos Tevez? What we're saying there? 2 seasons signing from West Ham, and he did 2 seasons at United, and this is all appearances, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say, Luke? 80 odd. I think that's high. I'm gonna go because he was quite injury prone, Tevez, and his bulldog-like approach. So I'm gonna go for 71.
Oh, any give or take on 87?
79.
The correct answer is 99.
Well, there we go.
You're the closest, Luke. You're within 20, so you get 2 points.
Oh, there we go. So I need another 2 points to match Liam, yeah?
Yeah. Goals?
Where's your ambition, Luke?
Goals?
Oh.
Super quiz time. This is super quiz time.
41.
No, that's 34.
Okay. Unlucky, Luke.
Right, final one. You need at least 2 here. Scott got 2 points, by the way, as well. So you're currently tied silver medal for your Olympic-themed summer. Okay. Nicky Butt. Any ballpark figures in mind, lads?
Very underrated Man United player, but I'm not giving Luke any hints. You have to get this, Luke.
We've been waiting for Man United expertise for a long time, so
Yeah, we have.
I don't want to disturb it.
Yeah, this
I'm
probably
gonna go
missing that Man United angle.
394.
Wow.
You know what? It's 385. So you are.
Does that make me top
Very
of the
close.
leaderboard? The champion.
Yeah, you're within 10. So yeah, you get 5 points.
The football. Do you want to see listeners at home? Do you want to see Liam's face?
Do you want to go for goals while you're at it, just to rub salt in?
Uh,
About fucking 6.
yeah, it won't be much. 32.
26 was the answer. So well done, Luke. You've come in.
The master. Bow down, Liam.
While me, Liam, and Scott have been doing all the work, you've been out there researching your. Nah, you didn't know this was coming,
No.
to be fair.
Your Man United 98-99 annual.
Shoot magazine.
You got it there, Liam. Look at Liam. He's absolutely.
He's a bit annoyed. Speaking of
Hold on,
annoyed, Liam,
Martin.
big game at the weekend. Bolton v Wrexham.
Yeah, it was.
You want to talk to us about it?
No, not really.
Right, fair enough. Let's move
I mean,
on.
all right, that doesn't make good content. I know, and I know that most listeners here are most interested in what I have to say. So, the Bolton Wrexham game, disappointing, frustrating, but not 100% unpredictable. That kind of football we saw for years under Phil Parkinson. They came for a draw and they got a draw. They nullified our attacks and didn't really lay a finger on us in terms of an attacking threat, because essentially they didn't want to commit men forward. So there was no counter attack on. So they both defended and didn't attack, and it made it very difficult for us to break down because they are fundamentally a good team, and when good teams do sit back like that, they can be hard to break down. Obviously, Scott watched Mourinho do that for quite some time in the past. So, yeah, it is disappointing. Yeah, I did want us to win it, but we did okay. We look like the dominant side, and we've got to just move on to teams that might actually try and beat us, hopefully, or at least, try and make something happen rather than just waste everyone's time like Wrexham did.
No, I think you're being harsh there because they're a newly promoted side coming up against promotion favourites.
Fine, you call them promotion rivals on our Twitter. Now
Who did? That was our Twitter admin.
Oh yeah, our Twitter admin, yeah. And now they're a newly promoted side, so I'm just confused onto what they are.
It's interesting to see what angle you'd like to take with it. That I think they're a newly promoted side who are sticking it to the big boys.
Look, and if they are doing that, they've got the best manager to do that, because Parky got us promoted with a transfer embargo, and he kept us up with quite possibly the most dog shit team I've ever seen us have. He kept us in the championship with, and we sold Medine. That's how, and that was our main man. That's how poor that team was. So yeah, look, he's a very good manager doing exactly that. I'm not being harsh. The problem is their owners won't know any different, so they probably think that that's good, but they'll have issues getting promoted and staying in the championship nowadays playing like that. But we'll see what they do. But, it's a good result for them.
So we had I'll stay with you for a second, Liam, while we're having a laugh. We saw the Premier League opener on Friday night. And for a change, it wasn't Arsenal. We had Man United in the hot seat, kicking off the Premier League season for us. What did you make of Ten Hag's approach to this match?
That's very much the narrative, isn't it? It's very much about
Yeah.
Ten Hag. The idea is that all of us negative type people, which apparently I'm negative towards United, we're just sat there waiting to twist the knife on Ten Hag as soon as things went wrong. I thought United were really poor, if I'm being completely honest. However, they did create some good chances, and they did have the better of the chances. Fulham did okay on the break as well. United's old problems have been susceptible to that were there. United would hope that some of their new signings that weren't playing may see them be a little bit more robust in that, a bit more pace at the back, particularly with Mazraoui and stuff like that. So hopefully for United's perspective, that would cancel it out, but they probably deserve to win. I've seen a lot of people be quite negative on them. They probably deserve to win, and they did. And I suppose from United's perspective, Xerxes scoring will be a relief, because I think it took Erling Hodgland, as Luke likes to call him. I think it took him quite a lot of games to score last season. I think there was snow in the air by the time he got his first United goal last year. So they'll be pleased that he's miskicked one in. So that's good. And yeah, the Theatre of Dreams, where fans are having to drill their seats back into place to ensure that they can get somewhere to sit in there. Yeah, everything looks rosy at Man United. I still think that they can have a good season.
Any more digs you need to get in before I pass it over to Luke and he can give us some opinion?
I thought that was quite a positive thing. I thought they played all right. They did okay.
Is there any point you coming to me? You might as well just carry on to Scott. Do you want me to talk about Chelsea? Or is it just...
Well, Scott,
what we doing here?
I've been the Man United expert for some time on the podcast now. I've had to fill in. I've been there. I've been reading about Lou Macari's chip shop. I've been ingraining myself in this Stretford End culture and being the Andy Mitten to the group, if you will. So they've come to me for this Man United update, Luke. But please, as our resident Man United expert, please tell me why I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. I'm not.
No, I'm just passing the ball around a bit, Luke. I'm keeping it moving, keep some fresh voices in rather than it just being 1-2s all the time.
Oh, well, you should have come to me first instead of going to the resident hater.
I thought that was positive.
I want you to put a positive spin on it. I want you to tell me and tell us what you thought of it, what the sort of overriding feeling around amongst Man United fans is. And also, do you like that playing first in the Premier League? Because I didn't actually realise until this weekend, but Arsenal have been that first match of the season for the last 3 years in a row on the Friday night kickoff, and I just feel like you've been set up to fail. But
well, I'm hoping the performance we put in the Friday night was because it was first game of the season nerves. Because if we're going to play like that for the rest of the season, Ten Hag will definitely be gone before Christmas. And
well, he said that you weren't ready.
Well, what manager comes into the new season going, "Oh, we're not ready"? What confidence brings that to everyone? Oh, we're not ready, boys.
It was a surprise. It was a surprise to him.
Yeah, I think this thing's going on in the background. I'm not liking the image of bringing Rude in to kind of. All I can see is by Christmas time, Ruud van Nistelrooy will be the manager of United.
Do you think they've done that on purpose, or do you think they've?
Yes.
Maybe they've allowed Ten Hag to bring him in because he's got that in the bag.
Nah. It just doesn't. It doesn't sit. As soon as the appointment was made, I thought that's the new manager, because he's going to be a fan favourite. He'll get the fans on side with Ineos if they do decide to sack him. I just think
they just think Van Nistelrooy is going to fix Marcus Rashford. That's all I hear. He's going to get Rashford finishing again.
I don't know what's happened to Rashford. I don't know. He's not the player that we thought he was, to be honest. I think it was a good opportunity to sell him to PSG, because he did seem like they was sniffing around him with the Mbappe move. If the opportunity arises, I would definitely consider selling him, because I don't know what he does on that left-hand side. He's meant to be a left forward, but it seems to be like he just hangs out on the left, just doing nothing. Liam, you want to jump in?
I do. Scott, is Marcus Rashford not the player that you thought he was going to be? Luke seems to think we all thought that Marcus Rashford was going to be some kind of undeniable world-beating talent.
Marcus Rashford's exactly what I've always thought him to be since he not showed his true colours, I guess. But so he broke in under Van Gaal, I believe it was, wasn't it? Was it Van Gaal that he broke in under? Kind of fortuitously, injuries played a part. He basically had no choice but to play him, and fair enough, he took his chances when he got them. He's never. There was times when they was comparing him to Mbappe, and it was like this Rashford and Mbappe, like he's going to be. This is the new Messi, Ronaldo. It's like he's never really been that good. He's had the season that he had, not the one just gone, the one before, I believe it was. I think he got like 30 odd goals or something. That's purple patch for Rashford. That's not his actual level. And this narrative of, this is the real Rashford. It's like, no, it's not though, is it? Because he's not good more than he's good. So that can't be his level, can it? I think he's been massively, I think there was this hysteria that he was this young English star breaking through and we all wanted him to be the next Rooney. And it would have been great for England if he was, but I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that he just isn't that. So I don't really know where this sort of narrative has ever come from. Maybe I think we meaning English pundits has like forced it on him almost. I don't really ever think he's been that good. Martin, you often refer to him as Theo Rashford, and I think you can explain
I've always
that comparison.
referred to him as Theo Rashford because, yeah, just like Walcott, he was built on a certain type of game that does flatter to deceive when they hit a purple patch. And I'd probably say Rashford's lasted longer than any of Walcott's multiple purple patches ever did. But yeah, he's always been Theo Rashford to me. Luke, is there a lot of weight to be shifted at United still before the end of the window? Let's get into fixing some bits. So we've reviewed sort of Man United's start to the season, but there's still plenty of time in this window. What needs to be fixed yet? Before you get onto the manager, we'll do that in our predictions bit.
Yeah, I don't think bringing any more players is going to solve anything now. I think I think we've done all right with this Lenny Yoro and bringing in Xerxes and De Ligt and the new right back Marizari, or his name is. But
you like how Paul Merson you.
But I honestly think it's going to be the structure and the tactics. That's United's way forward for this season. Like if we carry on how it was last season, again, Ten Hag's got to go. I think how we set up for Fulham as well, like how it was the same setup we played against City. We shouldn't be setting up against Fulham the same as City. No way, especially at home as well.
What do you mean? There should be it should be more like on the front foot, higher press or whatever. Because I feel like that's what it was, more of a high press against Fulham. Did I not see that? I felt it was slow. The players aren't definitely used to it, but I felt that was the aim.
If I can see a pattern in play, like in the next few games, if that's the way we're going to play, then fair enough. But it needs to bring results with that. And we've got in 2 more games, we've got Liverpool. So that's the big test.
Right. Well.
So there's no fix yet.
No fix.
We're
It's 2
winning.
for 2.
Well, Martin, actually, while we're talking about openers, what did you think of your opening yesterday, the day before?
Pick one. Saturday.
Yeah, whenever Arsenal played in a football game.
We had a football game on Saturday, and we won. It was. How do I describe it? It was
a great performance by all accounts.
It was an okay performance. There was good patches, a little bit similar to last season, where at the beginning when we struggled to sort of put teams to bed when it could have been 4-5-0 at half time. Beginning of the second half, Wolves were a lot better, and I think Gary O'Neill's a really good manager and had a lot to do with that. He set them up a lot different. They were pressing a lot higher, and when you do press high, it's a risky game you play when teams aren't taking the chances. Because eventually they will, and we did. But they had a lot more of the ball in the second half.
It's an interesting game for Havertz, I thought. Really good goal. Header in it.
Yeah.
Sort of off a Saka cross. That was good. But then also quite disappointed with his theatrics, trying to get that Wolves player sent off. I thought that was quite disappointing.
You thought that was disappointing, getting choke slammed?
What?
Was that disappointing when that massive Wolves player pinned him to the floor by the throat? Was that disappointing on Havertz's part?
He put his hand on his chest trying to get his balance.
You're missing a bit out as well, Martin.
Which bit?
Havertz does grab him first, and that's why he reacts like that.
Yeah, as he's falling down, but it doesn't matter how he reacts. It doesn't matter how he reacts. I mean, it doesn't matter why he reacts. It's how he reacts. So and you can't put your hands on. If he'd have done that in a standing position, the ref would have sent him off straight away.
Nah.
Yeah, he would, because that's what they've done last season. Loads of times we've already seen soft red cards this weekend. He would have been 1,000% if they'd have done that. Like if he was stood up and he's put his hands on his throat. We saw it with a United player. Which United player did it last season? Was it Bruno or Dalot did it last season? One of them got sent off for putting their hands up, or was it someone on one of them two? I can't remember. There was an instance in a United game when one player put their hands on the other one's throat.
Nah, I think you're making it up.
Nope, I'll post it straight after this. I'll post that whole clip instead of this whole episode. If you try and
maybe the Wolves player was checking his pulse. Seems all right
because he tried to kill him.
He moves so little on the pitch. You got to check on him every once in a while.
I'm of the view that it was something of an offing, and to hear after the game that he should have been sent off, I think was in my opinion just outrageous. And I think it's this idea of loading. It's loading up this idea of later in the season where all refs are against us. The classic defenses later on. It's getting the excuses in early where the guy was just trying to get his balance. And for me, Havertz has tried to get him sent off. And it's worse than the Ben Brereton Diaz one, in my opinion.
I think we should be all a bit more concerned about the sexual assault that took place on Gabriel Jesus in the same game. And that's a much more pressing issue.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, but listen, I don't want to see players get sent off for what are soft decisions. I'm just saying it. It is. I'm not bothered that he didn't get sent off.
What about fingering your opponent? What if you finger your opponent?
I mean, there's a line you've got to draw somewhere.
Well, the line is the you can't go inside, can you? I think that you can a pat is fine, that's fine, but you can't encroach. I don't think when it comes to
no.
I don't think you can attempt to encroach.
It was just a friendly tap to say, "Well done, Jesus. Good going." Just you're doing well.
I've tapped many a friend on the football pitch before. I haven't tried to assert my dominance on them.
Oh dear. So,
I'll pick this up, Liam, yeah? Let's crack on with Chelsea, and let's actually fix something.
Chelsea.
The news a lot today. News a lot.
It's been a busy summer, and it seems to not be slowing down for you, Scott. First of all, let's talk about the match. You had City, arguably the hardest match you could have picked on the opening weekend, but there was an argument that you caught City at a good time, or you was catching City at a good time. Didn't turn out to be the case. But what do you think of Chelsea's performance?
Yeah, actually a lot to like, I thought. It was quite an encouraging performance, considering that, we are playing, the best team in the world by a considerable distance, I think. And we have a new manager, a new system, a couple of new faces in the team, and a lot of players who haven't played for a long time, even players who aren't new to the club, the likes of Wesley Fofana, Romeo Lavia, and Kunku. All in all, I liked a lot of what I saw. There was a few weird things. I didn't like how he was using Palmer and Nkunku in terms of he had them almost touchline wingers, and it didn't really seem to suit either of them. Jackson, you could tell, he'd been injured most of preseason. I think he's only played one half of football all preseason, and then he started the game. Not sure that. I mean, we don't really have another striker who is staying at the club. Caveat that who we can. I mean, Mark Gue came on for a bit, but again, he's only 18. He's only going to do so much. I didn't. It was a clear instruction to get Enzo Fernandez forward. He was really. Sometimes he's even as far further ahead than Jackson. And I don't really quite understand why that was happening, because I think maybe the opening 15, 20 minutes when he was playing quite deep, he was playing some really, really dangerous passes. And that's sort of where you get the best out of him. But yeah, there was a weird instruction that seemed to get him much further forward. And I don't really know why that was happening.
I missed
Robert
this game,
Sanchez was.
Scott, just so you go, I missed this game because I was at the Bolton game. It's the only game I didn't see, actually. So I saw everyone else. I didn't see Chelsea. What midfield did you start?
We had Lavia, Enzo, and Caicedo.
How was Lavia?
Lavia was fucking excellent. He was the best player on the pitch for either team, I thought. I don't think anyone for City, other than Savio, had a particularly good game. Savio looked really lively. So he looks like a smart piece of business it's his internal swap, basically, but he looks like he's going to be dangerous. But Lavia, for me, was the best player on the pitch by a considerable distance. He looked fucking brilliant. So I'm excited to see more of him. So yeah, he was probably the brightest spark. Cucurella looked really good as well. When he was against Doku, he locked Doku up and Doku had to swap wings because he was getting absolutely fucking bodied. But then Savio gave him way more problems. And Doku had a bit more joy on the right against.
How was Savio?
He went off at half time, didn't he?
I think a bit into the second. He went off injured. And yeah, he did. Oh yeah, it was half time, and then they managed to bring on the Premier League Player of the Year off the bench, Phil Foden. So yeah, that's again testament to City's depth. But there was some teething issues and a few fitness issues. But overall, if that's how we play against the best team in the league, and we were in the game for most of it until Kovacic scored on 86, we could have easily got back into that game. So overall, I was quite happy with what I saw. And Enzo Maresca there's something about him that I'm warming to. I need to see a lot more of it, but yeah, positive signs so far, I thought. Don't know if Liam, you didn't catch it, but Martin, what were your thoughts?
Lavia was definitely your best player. Whether he was the best player on the pitch is hard to say, because I actually thought Kovacic did a really good job for City.
Yeah, he did. I agree with that.
He probably had one of his best games for City, funnily enough.
Yeah.
He had a very good pre-season by all accounts, Kovacic. I saw some of his driving runs in some of the games.
Yeah, he looked like his fresh Chelsea days. He was really at it. He was the one who kept it moving for City. De Bruyne just kept finding pockets, and that's where City could break. I'm starting to wonder if the plan of that three in midfield was the plan all along, or it's just taken us 12 months to see it. I don't see it working. I don't see them three working. If it is the plan, because I don't know what Enzo is. He's not a 10, he was sort of the most attacking of them three. Yeah. I don't think he's mobile enough to be an 8, gets the amount of running done that Gallagher does, and he's definitely not defensively minded enough to be a 6. So I don't know where he fits, and especially alongside two defensive midfielders. I actually thought Caicedo looked like the guy who was the one who was going to pick a pass more for you, which was interesting because I didn't see that in his game really before.
He's not a bad passer, Caicedo. He's a better. He'll pull out a driving run much better than Enzo Fernandez. But there's a few instances where some of the patterns of play that we were putting together, and some of the passes that Enzo was able to piece together, like I said, in the early parts of the game, were really, really good. And that's where you get. I kind of feel like that 3 is maybe a bit unbalanced somewhat. But I feel like if there's a world where you could have Lavia and Enzo as the 2. As a 2, perhaps, and then Caicedo just ahead of them, then maybe that works. But then you are foregoing big attacking threat in that 10 position, whether it be Nkunku or Palmer or somebody else. So,
somebody else might be somebody else might be the one. Let's get on to. I know you spoke about things that you liked about Maresca, but there's a lot not to like about Chelsea at the moment, isn't there? Luke,
In your opinion,
Luke, let's bring you in.
Yes.
Seeing as though everyone else had the sale on Man United. Which Chelsea story, which side hustle of Chelsea's do you want to get stuck into first? There's the shit going on with Raheem Sterling. I know one of your favourite topics is the absolute, I don't know, schoolyard playground that is Chelsea's training pitch at the moment. You take your pick.
I think we should start with the influx of players.
The influx of players, so the amount coming in.
Yes. I think
Alright.
that's where we should start, because I know Scott hates... Well, Scott gets his back up every time I bring it up for some reason. And he's tried to levy a United squad, but really, we've only got 32 players, senior players. And I looked before the actual pod, and there's actually 45 senior players for Chelsea,
Wow.
with more coming in with the signing of Felix. So I think I don't understand how. Well, I know, Scott, you said they're going to be a certain amount of players that are going to be put training separately and hope to sell on for a fee, but that can't be a good place at the moment. Chelsea Football Training Club, for the players around there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of negative feelings around, because some players don't know if they're going on to please or staying. I think it's, I can't figure it out, to be honest.
So, Scott, just before you answer Luke's world's longest question, the situation Luke's talked about has already kind of started happening, hasn't it? With Sterling now wanting to leave, believing that he should have a higher status in the team. So, do you think Maresca can manage this situation?
yes, I will. I'll start with Luke's points first and foremost. So, you say we have 45 senior players in our squad. And okay, you look on our website, there are 42, or when I look at it was 43, whatever. Probably signed about 10 today, so maybe that's changed it a bit. But if you actually look at who some of those players are, they're not actually senior players, are they? Like, it's easy to make a squad look massive when you just throw everyone who's ever put on a shirt and just list them with everybody. 3 of the 6 goalkeepers listed, one is an under 21, one's Kepa, so immediately discounts it, and the other one's Petrovic, who's on his way to Strasbourg. And I could go through the whole list, but there's at least, I think at my count, there was 17 players listed on that 45 or 43 who would have no future at the club and we're actively trying to get rid of. So I think this number is massive. I think it's false when you look at who's actually going to be a serious part of the team. It's not as if Maresca has these 45 all vying for these 11 positions. That isn't the reality. That isn't what's happening. You've got a core group and you've got others who are we're trying to get out the door. They're training away. They're doing whatever it is, which kind of leads me on to Liam's point of keeping these kind of people happy. Can Maresca do that? Oh, well, the proof's going to be in the pudding, isn't it? Even with today, not long before we started recording, Joao Felix is pretty much confirmed to be on his way back to Chelsea, which I think has been done more so to grease the wheels for Gallagher to leave than anything else. But anyway, I'm somewhat intrigued by his return. But yeah, is it a case that, is it more so, actually, and on the balance of things, given what's broke over the weekend, is it because we're told Raheem Sterling he's not got a future? Is Felix Raheem Sterling's replacement, perhaps? There's a lot of things that we'll never actually be privy to and understand and know for sure as to the goings on. We can only judge from the outside looking in.
I was going to say, Scott,
yeah,
that's quite a bleak thing to be told, though, isn't it? You've got no future, Raheem. Like that's
No.
Like, I would be upset if Maresca pulled me to the
Right.
side and went, Liam, you've got no future. I'd be like, shit,
Well,
that's bleak.
Well, what's he supposed to do? What's the alternative?
I think
To
I
everybody.
think
If he doesn't
that-
think Raheem Sterling fits into the plan, what does he actually do instead of what we have? Then what is the alternative?
Got
Did he
blind
not-
players.
is he fit?
It's
Why
not-
is he only not fitting in the plan now? Why has he been involved in all pre-season? And why is it literally now that, actually, you're not part of the plans? That would wind me up, if I'm being honest.
but there's no evidence that he hasn't been told this before. Just because the story's broke now, his agents have clearly been talking to newspapers well before this weekend because they had a statement ready to go. So this has clearly been in the cards for a while, and it's not unusual for players who are going to be sold to play a part in pre-season. I'm sure Eddie Nketiah's been playing in pre-season. He's not part of the future plans for Arsenal. But Tomine has played in pre-season for Man United. He's been massively pushed out the door at Man United. So again, these aren't Chelsea exclusive things, and I understand you can attach Chelsea's name to things and it becomes a bit more sensational, but I feel like we need to actually look at it for this. Luke, you suggested that the solution is not signing players, but that isn't actually a solution, is it? Because whether we sign if we didn't sign anybody else, it doesn't make Raheem Sterling any better fit for what we're trying to do. So if you look at a player and you don't think he's part of the future of the team, isn't it better to just tell? Isn't it better to tell them that just get them out the door than? I don't. What do you mean? In what sense?
You keep saying what we're trying to do. What are you trying to do?
Well, we're trying to build a team that we think can compete at the top level, and we don't see Raheem Sterling as part of that at 29 after 2 seasons of. Let's be honest, mediocrity. We signed him because of a brilliant reputation he built for himself at Man City, and over 2 seasons on massive wages, he's proven to be pretty ineffectual. So I'd actually argue that you've got a player who's being paid massively over and above what his performances dictate. And let's be real, if Raheem Sterling had performed to the level at which he's getting paid and the reputation that he built for himself, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because he'd be starting every game. But the reality is he isn't playing to that level. So what else if you have a player on your books for exorbitant amounts of money who seemingly can't perform to that level, I don't understand what else we're supposed to do.
What have the fans made of the sort of timing of the announcement as well? Because I think there's news is out that he was told on Friday that he wouldn't be starting. So yeah. for the statement to come out around kickoff time, I mean, what's the overriding opinion amongst fans? Is it split? Is it fuck the board? Really. Is it? Are they in favour of Sterling or what?
No. Most Chelsea fans don't want Sterling at the club anymore. I've always rated Raheem Sterling quite highly, but it's become apparent in his time at Chelsea that he was a very effective part in Pep Guardiola Man City machine. And at Chelsea, he's built this reputation up as a star player, over 100 Premier League goals for City, and rightly so. He's earned that status, and you even have to look at some of the performances he's put in for England, particularly at the 2021 Euros. But he's come to Chelsea as the star man, and we've given him the task of leading the team and being our best player. And he simply hasn't been good enough. So the sentiment among a lot of Chelsea fans, you can look at some of the instances last season, some of his decision making last year. He's never been, him getting on the end of a 100 pass move 3 yards from goal is the best thing for him. That's why he did so well at City, because you give him any more time than that. Some of the decision making he put in last season, shooting when he should have passed, and he was abysmal. So the overriding sentiment is we all want to see Sterling, or most of us want to see Sterling gone, because we've watched him for 2 years, we've seen his limitations, and he isn't what we need. So the timing of the announcement, in my opinion, is a joke. It's pathetic. I mean, if this isn't Chelsea, if a player an hour before kickoff, if this is Paul Pogba, for example, he's getting fucking crucified for his team releasing a statement an hour before kickoff on the first game of the season about not being selected. First and foremost, what gives Raheem Sterling a divine right to play, for one? And two, you're still a contracted employee of this club. They're still paying you your ridiculous wages. So if you don't get picked for a game, tough shit. You get on with it. You suck it up and you prove to the manager that you're good enough, or you accept the situation. Look how well Conor Gallagher's handled his. He's been sat in Madrid. I'm not going to act like he's some POW like everybody else is doing. Not exactly locked in shackles. He's chilling in Madrid in, I'm sure, what is the best hotels and the best facilities. He's not picked up a single fuss from what we've seen. He's got on with it. He's trained. He's waiting for shit to get sorted. Raheem Sterling, I think, is, in my opinion, comes across super unprofessional in this whole thing.
So, Scott, the only thing that goes against the last 5 minutes of what you were saying there is that hasn't he been front and centre of an ad campaign for Chelsea this week?
So
Raheem Sterling.
what's that got to do with anything?
Well, it doesn't
Part of his
suggest
contractual
that,
obligations as an employee of the club.
but you're not going to.
And I'm sure these campaigns are shot months in advance. That was probably shot months ago.
But you're
I don't
saying that
understand
this
the
probably would have been
relevance.
communicated to him a long time ago. That says to me that that's just a load of shite.
I didn't say a long time ago. I said
I think
it's got
what's
to be
happened
much
here, by the way,
much before we know about it.
I don't know why this hasn't been linked, but it's quite clear this is obviously linked with the Pedro Neto signing. Because they brought Pedro Neto in, and they're doing what United did for years, and they were wrong to do it, is they bought someone and then thought, right, we've bought someone, now we need to sell someone. So doing it the wrong way around. So they brought Pedro Neto in, and they're like, right, well, now we need to get Raheem Sterling out. And that's all this is, in my opinion. It's one for one.
Well, there's a world where Raheem Sterling just thinks, fuck it, I've got 3 years left on my contracts.
And that's why the statement is today. That's exactly what they're saying.
That's
That's what
I'm
they're
on,
threatening.
what's it, on 325 grand a week for the next 3 years. I'm a long time retired. I ain't going to get this anywhere else unless I go to Saudi, and I don't want to up my family to Saudi. I'm happy in London.
Yep.
This is it. This is the problem that I think a lot of fans envisage with Chelsea is, they're not. I think generally Bowley's done a good job of getting the average wage down of Chelsea, but Sterling is the outlier in this one. He's by far your highest earner.
He's a hangover from our very first window when it was all a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
Names.
Where you're going to have players on long contracts and be struggle to get rid of them.
Luke, you've got a point there, haven't you, Luke?
Yeah, I have got a point. Who's better, Raheem Sterling or Mudryk?
Or João Felix?
Or Pedro Neto.
Pedro
Or
Neto's
Cole
the best
Palmer.
of all four. And Palmer's better than all four of them. I don't understand the point to the question.
Barry Shelley or Madueke or
Centre back one earlier.
Yeah, have I missed anyone?
No, let's go back to Luke. Let's go back to Luke's question.
And Kuki.
What's your point?
So I'm asking you, is Sterling better than Mudryk?
I would, as of right now, yeah, I'd probably say that he is.
So why are you not trying to get rid of him instead of Sterling?
Because Raheem Sterling's nearly 30 years old, and we don't really see him. Clearly, we've invested a lot of money in Kylo Mudryk. Not as much as you lot keep thinking, but we have. We've invested a lot of money, and we clearly see a player in him somewhere. And maybe he just needs the right manager to work some magic, and off it goes. But time will tell on that. Can't say I'm holding my breath, but there's a lot more upside to a Mudryk than there is a Sterling. You've seen all you're ever going to see of Sterling. He's not going to improve, and he's been largely poor for 2 years on massive money. Mikhailo Mudryk's not been great, but he's not earning 325 grand a week. He's earning probably about 70 or 80. So I don't understand why you wouldn't keep Mudryk and hope that he can turn into something versus Raheem Sterling, who you already know what he is, and he isn't good enough.
Right. Last couple points on Chelsea. I know you've touched on it a bit then, but do you feel any sympathy for the players like Conor Gallagher? I know you've stressed about it that everyone's just getting on with it, but he's not on his own in this boat. They've got Chalobah, who's in a very similar situation, not got a move yet.
Lukaku as well. Training with the kids, isn't he? Lukaku.
Yeah, I feel really sorry for him. Fucking prick.
No one feels sorry for Lukaku, that big stiff idiot. But yeah, there's a lot of players like Gallagher who are in the same boat. Do you or Chelsea fans, do you feel like there's a bit of sympathy going around for them?
There's a groundswell of sentiment for Trevor Chalobah, and I think it's because when he was called upon last year, he never really put a foot wrong. But again, an outlier. Since Clearlake took over Chelsea, we've pretty much been trying to get rid of Chalobah for about 2.5 years. So it's almost like you chase a girl for 2 years and she turns you down and turns you down. And then it's not on. You can't be mad at her for turning me down for 2 years. She's giving me the same answer.
If you could declare these girls as pure profit on accounts, do you think you'd be so keen to not get rid of them? I
think you're in a really sketchy area of the law there, Liam. I wouldn't talk about women like that. I wouldn't talk about women like that. I wouldn't talk about women that way.
like, let's be honest about it. Like, the amount of talk I've seen about Conor Gallagher and Trevor Caliber, it's basically because they're academy graduates. That's why Chelsea are so keen to essentially force them out the club, which is what the Caliber situation is. That's very much forcing him out the club. All he wants to do is play for Chelsea, Scott. You know, is that not the kind of
so do
team
I.
around the
So
place?
do I. I want to play for the Knicks, but shit, professional sports is fucking brutal. And does it not tell you something? Nobody is lining up to sign this guy. I rate Trevor Chalobah.
All I hear about is proper Chelsea, but like when it comes down to it,
no
that
one
doesn't
cares.
mean anything. That clearly doesn't mean anything, does it?
Doesn't mean anything to Chelsea fans either. We don't care. We just want the best players for the club.
I think you said the word proper Chelsea to us once a day.
I don't. I find last time in our chat when I said that.
What's happened to Chilwell?
He's getting sold because he's shit and he can't stay fit.
What about Reece James?
Best right back in the world.
Hold on, this is turning to an absolute dog shit.
Do you know? This is why I get annoyed talking about Chelsea, because I speak to morons who can't actually form a coherent argument.
Yeah, I started feeling sorry for you then, Scott, having to deal with that onslaught.
It's just brain dead. Who's better, Mudryk or Sterling? Fucking difference does it make?
That was
I just wanted your opinion.
But for what purpose? It doesn't form any part of a coherent argument. So I fail to see the point.
I just don't understand why you'd keep a player that you've just said that shit and then not keep a player that is clearly a good standard player. So your argument is, we can develop, but you've already got a developed player that can just...
No, but he can't though, can he? Because we've had him for 2 years and he's not done a great deal, so he clearly can't give us much, can he? I don't understand. Well, not a fucking great deal at the moment.
Luke, if you're struggling, just rewind this episode about 10 minutes and Scott's explained this already.
He's I didn't get his answer. He just said...
You weren't listening then. Listen, Scott.
I gave him a fucking straight answer.
I know.
Luke, you can't form a coherent argument. I said that Sterling was the better player. That was literally what I said.
So why not keeping him?
Because he's not good enough to play for us. He needs to be sold. He's on too much money and he hasn't performed to the level that he gets paid. So, okay, Luke, would you get fired if you weren't good enough at your job? Answer me that. Yes or no?
Probably not.
That's a bad example. He's a loser. Listen, I want to move on from this one because I think it's we've gone.
I have one more Chelsea question for Scott, and it is a nice question. It's a nice question. Conor Gallagher, do you think he will do well in La Liga, Scott?
Yes, I do. I think he'll do very well at Atletico Madrid.
Do you think it'll help his England career playing for under Simeone?
No, I don't think it'll make a great deal of difference. He's pretty much a regular in the England team anyway, so I don't think he's reducing his profile or helping it any more so than it would be if he stayed. So, I don't know. We'll see, but I think he'll do well.
I think it'll really help because he's going there as he's not an academy graduate there, is he? He's a marquee signing, a main player. I think it's a good move for him. Like, joking aside, I think Conor Gallagher's a big winner in that move. Once he gets over the idea of leaving London, which he obviously wants to live in, and I get that, but once he gets over the fact that it's a really, really good move for him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's weak in the Madrid sunshine. Has probably done bits to convince him.
Scott, so we've got just over a week or so of the transfer window left, and you have been put in charge of Chelsea and transfer operations.
Yeah.
How do you fix it?
Needed.
I've got a list. Luke, you're signing Manuel Ugarte this week, aren't you? You don't need him. Why is he coming in?
When you've got McTominay already.
I know. An academy graduate who's getting pushed out the door. We've not spoke that much about that, have we?
Luke, remember your
Luke, tell me about McTominay. Why we're forcing McTominay at the door?
Profit.
There we go. I rest my case. Okay, what am I doing at Chelsea? I've got a list here, actually, as it happens. I knew you'd ask that. So, I'm going to quick fire this because there's a lot of players to get through. I am sending Petrovic to Strasbourg or selling him elsewhere. Sending Bergstrom back to the under-21s. Selling Kepa to someone, whoever will have him. I'll drive him wherever he wants to go. Trevor Chalobah can go. Ben Chilwell can go. Bashir Humphries has already gone. Exactly. You're all saying who's because they're academy players. They're not actually first team. So that's why the squad number isn't real. Fake shit. And you're all morons for believing it. I'm going to finish off very quickly. Conor Gallagher's going. Amari Kellerman's going on loan. Carney Chukwuemeka might go to Napoli as part of Victor Osimhen deal. Cesare Casadei's going. Amanda Obrogio's going to Ipswich by the looks of it. David Washington's going back to the under-21s. Datro Fofana, don't know. He's going to be a struggle to get rid of, I think. I think he's going to be a bit of a ball ache, even though he looked quite decent for Burnley. But I think he's going to be a struggle. Romelu Lukaku's going to Napoli, and Angelo Gabriel is going out on. He's being sold somewhere. And I'm going to bring in Victor Osimhen.
I think Destro Fofana will end up at Leeds on loan. No, they've lost Rutter. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I like Datro Fofana. I think he could do bits for someone.
Rutter's gone to Brighton, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Right, well, that brings me nicely away from Chelsea for a minute. Although I do like the Brozier to Ipswich move.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah, good move.
Liam, is there anything going on in the world of transfers while we're out here fixing stuff and we can all shake our heads silently, or we could start talking about fixing things? What transfers are interesting you? What's happening? Is there anything that you think, maybe even especially Man United, if you want to go down that route, but if there anything that need fixing right now in the world of the Premier League?
Okay, that's quite a vague, open question.
Yeah, we can see where it goes.
I think there is some likelihood. I like the idea. I mean, Gundogan's been made available today, hasn't he?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, linked back with a move to Man City. But if I was a Premier League club at the top end, I'm not sure I'd be so quick to let that happen. I'd be interested to know what Gundogan would want if I was a Man United or an Arsenal or a Chelsea. Now, don't get me wrong, he may well easily go back to City and there's nothing you can do. But I think Arsenal particularly should be looking at that deal and thinking, would a 2-year contract maybe convince him that Arsenal's the place to go?
Yeah, I think if we weren't so close, I think Mikel Merino is going to be announced this week, and I think if that wasn't as close as it has been, that we would be right in there for Gundogan. But otherwise, it's getting a bit busy in there. But yeah, I do agree. Yeah. I don't know why Liverpool couldn't be looking at that, because I think they need more bodies in midfield as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle don't have a look at that as well. Because I think the difference that these clubs can offer that City won't, I don't think City will give him any more than a year. Whereas I think these types of clubs might give him a 2 or 3 year contract, which might close the deal.
Well, speaking of Newcastle, they've just made... I mean, Kieran Trippier's turning out for the under-21s tonight, and they've just made Bruno Guimaraes the captain, the club captain. Obviously to encourage him to stay around a bit longer. Do you think Newcastle need to do a bit, don't they?
I don't think they can. They've not got much movement, have they, with PSR? I think they're in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment with PSR. I think their function at the moment is to try and essentially get themselves in what I would do if I was Newcastle, but it's a long-term project, but it's maybe why they brought Paul Mitchell in, is that some kind of PSR is always going to be there now. Yes, they are looking at changing the rules, but they're not going to change them drastically because the tyranny of the 14 won't allow that to happen. So what I would be focusing on if I was Newcastle is you've pretty much got the run of the catchment area. Yes, Sunderland are there, but they're in the Championship and don't have anywhere near the resources. I'd be focused on developing academy products that you can sell.
Yeah, they need to stack up that academy big time, don't they?
Yeah, you've got to hold the north, east, and beyond, maybe even the Cumbria area, which sort of Man United try and tap into a little bit because City don't necessarily look at it in the same way. That, and maybe even Scotland, to be fair, that gives Newcastle a distinct advantage, and probably one of the reasons that they did look at it in the first place when they decided to do it. If they can stack that academy up with talent, 5-6 years down the line, PSR will not be a problem for them. You've got a situation where, like City, you can sell Cole Palmer for 40 million, you can sell Lavia to Southampton for 12 million, but then have a 40% sell-on clause, so you get that as well as pure profit on there. So there's a huge... I mean,
I thought you couldn't do that. I thought you weren't allowed to do that.
What, the
get money for academy projects? No, money for academy prospects. I thought that was... Oh, no, it's just when we do it. Fair. Okay.
It's just the players that you like. You know, and one of them's your club captain and stuff.
It just depends on content, Scott, because like it's a good 10 minutes of getting you wound up there. But also you got like people like Brahim Diaz, 30 odd million. So City have really got their head screwed on. United have really dropped the ball on that. Like they've really let that that's like I think that's the biggest single failure of the Glazers, because that's so hard to come back from as well now. But it's not about Man United. We'll talk about Newcastle. But that's what I would do if I was Newcastle.
Do you agree with that point, though, Luke?
No.
Fair enough. There we go. Well,
Moving on.
Why do you disagree with it, Luke? Why am I wrong?
Yeah, imagine people are listening to this.
Imagine people listen to this. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
They fucking won't do with that answer. Jesus
No.
Christ.
Come on, Luke. Why am Man United still
Luke.
the academy to go to?
Is it disappointing as a Man United fan that the academy has been so lax under the Glazers' tenure? When you can name, yeah, it's been poor. How many people have broke through from the academy?
We've had an academy graduate in our team the longest out of any club. So
it's fine then. Yes.
When you're saying the academy is badly, and we've had an academy graduate in our. I
didn't use the word bad. I said you've allowed City to essentially monopolise the talent in the area to allow themselves to compete PSR against you, who are essentially the biggest club in the world. Because what you've done is you've just relied on your revenues from the commercial aspects of your club, which is all well and good. But by neglecting the academy side, you've allowed Man City to essentially grow that side and be able to in a position where City actually have higher revenues than you now. That for me is
you see that because we've obviously not performed well. We've gone over this many a time. The club has not been run right from United point of view.
So you agree then?
I don't. Yes, I agree, Liam.
Okay, fair enough.
Fucking hell.
Right. Luke and Scott, do you have a favourite transfer so far throughout the transfer window? Not necessarily for your own clubs, but who you think is a good signing for that team, who you think will do really well? Who may have crept into either of your fantasy teams?
Good question. It's hard. I'm immediately jumping to Pedro Neto because I just like that it was a throwback to. There was no story. There was no leak. There was no 3-week saga. It just sort of happened, and no one really knew about it.
It wasn't even like a crazy fee.
Think he's gonna...
Wasn't like 100. If it was like 100 million or something, then that would have been like a typical Chelsea crazy mad move. But it was just like
it's like 54.
Something like that. Yeah,
wasn't too bad, and I think he'd probably get in most front threes in the league. I'd have thought.
Yeah,
maybe not every single one, but probably start for most Premier League clubs. I'd say at the top end. So yeah, I'm struggling to think of another one off the top of my head, but that sticks out. I mean, this after watching the game on yesterday, Savio looks like he's going to be a problem. Yeah, I think that could be a shrewd bit of business by Man City because he looks top draw.
I like the look of, and I know there was a lot of. I think it was a bit of a PSR transfer. We can go over that another time. But is it Yakuba Minte? Who's at Brighton now?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Newcastle had really high hopes for him, and I think they had to let him go.
Where's he gone again?
He's gone to Brighton.
Okay.
Did he
straight
score
straight into the first team as well?
Did he score, or did he get an assist or something? He did all right this weekend. I almost caught the highlights, but apparently he's going to be one to watch out for. So I think that's a good buy.
I'll quickly say, in terms of transfer business, not Premier League, but I actually think that Bayern's done really well this window. Absolutely tremendous business from Bayern.
Early as well.
Yeah, exactly. They've addressed all the problems by signing Paulinho, who was available at 50 million, which is a steal. I know he's a bit older, but it's an absolute steal. You're buying gold at that price.
Yeah.
He will not fail. And Michael Elise, who I think was the best talent in the Premier League outside the Big Six, and has gone for 60 million euros. So again, that just to me seemed like a missed opportunity for a lot of Premier League clubs, but Bayern has that draw, and it'll be interesting to see how they get on with Vincent Kompany against Leverkusen this season. I think they'll win the league, but we'll see. Scott?
Yeah, I have a final transfer-related question, because it was interesting. I was struggling to think. So this whole Raheem Sterling thing, he's clearly looks like it's time up for him. I couldn't really think of where he might land because he's on stupid money, and I don't think we're going to want a small fee for him because he's got 3 years left.
I've got a theory on this, but go
I-
on. Even the same.
I've got 3 potential landing places because I'm thinking it's got to be Premier League somewhere because I don't really know who else is going to interest him. So I think Aston Villa would be a shout because they were actually in talks for Felix for quite a while before we were, and we seem to have beat them to him. So maybe there's a path for him to join there.
I don't know if Emery wants a player who can't pass. That's my only thing with that. He does.
I'm thinking if there's an
creativity, doesn't he? And you don't really get.
He
that
does.
with him.
I think there's sometimes you just see an opportunity and you just think, "Fuck it, let's give it a go." Because he's proven he's a goal scorer.
Well,
And They did lose Moussa Diaby as well, who are it's not the same kind of player, but it's a wide option that they no longer have. If United ship Jadon Sancho out, maybe Man United would be tempted by a big name like Raheem Sterling. And weirdly, I don't know why, I've got a weird feeling Arsenal might look at him. I don't really know what's telling me that, but I think there was before he came to Chelsea, he wanted to move back to London. I think Arsenal at the time was his
him and Arteta are close, aren't they? Still and Arteta are very close, aren't they? I believe.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. I don't think it will. I wouldn't be shocked if Arsenal, particularly if you could get him for what you would consider a decent fee. I think they're the only 3 places I can actually see him moving. But I'm interested to see what Liam, you said you thought.
Yeah, I don't think he's
going to.
I don't think he's going to land that high. I actually agree with you about Sterling, Scott. I think his levels are nowhere near what they need to be, and I think he was very much a specialist signing for Man City, like because of that system and the way he would arrive late and follow instructions. I think was absolutely critical to Man City. I don't think many other clubs you can do that where you have that kind of. He could probably land at Arsenal. To be fair, that kind of makes sense. But I think if Arsenal are going to bring in a forward, he needs to actually be a striker. But I'm sure we'll talk about Arsenal being a striker many times this year, so we don't need to go down that route yet. I think he's going to end up lower than that, and I think he's going to link up with the manager that brought him into football, and he might end up as part of a deal for O'Reilly and end up at Celtic on loan for a year.
Ooh. That's a very left field choice.
Unless there's some, I only see that unless if there's some coverage of his wages from Chelsea.
Oh yeah, 100% to be coverage of his wages.
Yeah,
but I think Celtic would go to 6 figures a week on his wages. They can't afford the 325 grand, but they could afford 100 grand of it. And if it made terms sweeter on an O'Reilly deal, and O'Reilly is the real deal, by the way. He very much, and Rio Hatate is another one that's linked with a move as well this summer with a Premier League club. He won't land at the top end, but he'll end up at the bottom end of the Premier League. I think there's something that could be done there because Chelsea love these little, if you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours type transfers. That's what we've been banging on about Gallagher for the last 6 months. So this left field shout, but I think that might actually happen for a year long.
Luke, you've had a minute to think. Which transfers excited you?
I've not thought there's that been many good transfers this window. I think the only one that kind of maybe caught my eye was that Onana to Villa. I think that's what we needed, someone like him. I thought United could have gone in for Onana.
Good in. I agree. I thought it'd have been a great fit for you lot.
Other than that, no, there's not really been like the top teams who's standing out really, signature wise.
Yeah, it's been I don't know. Yeah, maybe the biggest ones have yet to happen, is what I'm thinking.
Osimhen will be the biggest.
Osimhen will be the biggest.
That is the transfer of the summer if that happens.
And the chain around that. If he doesn't go to Chelsea, that is.
I think it's Lukaku to Napoli is pretty much. It's looking very, very close now, according to all the reports. And I think PSG have almost taken themselves away, and they couldn't ship out who they wanted to ship out. So I would be the more it goes on, I'd be surprised if we don't end up with Osimhen, unless the financials make it just a crazy deal for us.
Well, the other caveat to that is Chelsea are heavily linked, with Ivan Toney tonight and tomorrow.
I
So
don't like that.
46-man squad
There's-
incoming.
well, Chelsea were on the lookout for the striker part of the Gallagher deal anyway, so I don't think they're counting that as an extra one randomly. But I think Brentford are expecting him to go to Saudi, but there's talk that Chelsea could be a late bidder in that one.
Looks like they want to sell him, don't they, Brentford?
Yeah.
It looks like I reckon 40 million might get him now.
The more you talk about Tony, the more his price tag goes down. It's like when he's not playing football, he was worth 100 million a couple months ago, and now he's kicked the ball a few times. Yeah.
40 million would do it. And I don't know. I'm not sure that's what I like. Ivan Toney. I do think he's a really solid player. I don't know. Is he that elite 9?
At 40 million,
probably better than what we've.
At 40 million, is a rotation option for me. That brings him into the rotation option striker for a top club anyway. I would be surprised if United and Arsenal don't sit there and just think 40 million's not that bad. If we could spread that cost over a few years, like I would be tempted, particularly if I was Arsenal.
I think so. I think 40 is a game changer. When you're speaking about 80 million, you're looking at someone to come in, hit the ground running, be the main man. Yeah, 40 is
40 is like 15 million. It's like 15. You're getting between 15 and 20 goals out of him, aren't you? Particularly in a team like Arsenal that's going to make a lot of chances for him.
So I don't think Brentford are going to get that one tied up as quickly as they want, because when the price tag gets announced, it's going to attract other people, and probably rather stay in London. I don't know though. So, Luke, pretty uneventful summer so far.
Yeah, well, not so much. We've had 4 signings in key areas, I suppose. I like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I think it's the tactics that we need to sort out.
Do you think that Ten Hag should have some influence in the signings, Luke? Do you think, you brought up earlier in the year that he's got no influence, and do you think that he should have a bit more of a say, bringing maybe familiar faces to him, perhaps?
Good comment, that, Liam. What are you trying to get at?
I don't think it was subtle, was it?
I think the fixing Man United episode is going to have to wait now.
Yeah, well, we'll get stuck into United another time, Luke. Stop trying to bring United up all the time.
Right, let's wrap it up. Thank you everyone for listening. You can find all the details. God help you if you've made it this far. All the details are at www.fixingfootballpodcast.com, and we'll catch you on the next one. Say bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening.